It's Whitney. Welcome back to New York City. Welcome back to the OK Boomer Show, my little macaronis. Glad you're here. And we're going to go into the end of the 70s. The late 70s, New York City, like I said, was bankrupt. There was a lot of crime. All my friends were dying of drugs or going to jail. And it was very difficult. So I did, graduate high school with, high grades. And then I went on to a community college. Because we were so broke, I was able to get a grant for a community college. And then when I went to college, I got good grades, but I was kind of bored, except when the students who were photography majors would always come up to me and ask to photograph me because they thought I would be great model material. And so I did a lot of, quite a few fashion shoots with student photographers on campus. So I really realized that that's what I wanted to do, was not so much as to model, but to model and, take acting classes and become an actor. I tried to get in a few of the major top modeling agencies because although New York was bankrupt and it was a horrible place to grow up being poor and being around drugs and crime, there was like opportunity because I lived in New York City. So there was these top agencies like Ford Models and Wilhelmina Models and a few other top agencies, but those were the main ones. And so I would submit my pictures, and a few of them would call me in, but they would say, you're gorgeous and everything, but you're too short. You're 5'7" and you have to be at least 5'8". You had to be 5'8" or taller. And they wanted, at that time, because it was late 70s and early 80s, they wanted women who were very all-American looking, because Ralph Lauren, the all-American cowboy look, was very popular. So Brooke Shields was very popular, and Christy Brinkley was very popular, and they were top models because they were very all-American looking. And I had a very Eastern European look because I was, half Polish and half Italian, but the Polish came out a lot, the Eastern European look. So, but yeah, they didn't want to take me on, and I did end up with a smaller agency called Chelsea Models. It was a very, very small agency, and I met a lot of girls there from all different parts of the country. There was Cindy, and she was from Mexico, and she had beautiful blonde hair, like thick. She looked like Bridget Bardot, really. She was absolutely gorgeous. And Murray, she was the oldest model. She was in her late 30s, and she was like getting really nervous because to be that old in the modeling industry didn't work. But she looked just like Lauren Hutton, and that was my favorite model. So Murray knew the ropes, she really knew the ropes. And she lived in Forest Hills, and she had all this antique furniture, and Murray was really very sophisticated. She's extremely tall, and she looked just like Lauren Hutton. And so it was really interesting because I was meeting all these people. And the agency sent me to this photographer who was from Tuscany, and his name was Candido. He was not only a fashion photographer, but he was also a screenwriter. So he was trying to sell a screenplay to Robert De Niro and Martin Scorsese. And he had this great film that he wanted to promote, and then he'd been working on with his partner. So he was not just into photography. Also, Candido knew 5 different languages. So when I met him at his photography studio, he says, oh, yeah. He was like this short, Italian, pasty-looking guy. He was not muscular or anything. He was kind of pasty-looking. And he had this big blonde beard, and he had blonde hair, and he had this Italian accent, from the old country. He said, oh my God, you look like a Sophia Loren. You are so beautiful, And I was like, okay, I look like Sophia Loren if you say so. You're the expert, right? So I'm like, do all the Italian men from the old country think that all attractive women look like Sophia Loren, or do I really look like Sophia Loren? I didn't know, but I was like, he's a fashion photographer, and he wants to photograph me, so this is great, right? So he picks me up in his little red sports car with the stick shift, and he's driving super fast. And we end up at his apartment in Brooklyn Heights. He's got this really small apartment with like antique furniture, and there's all these black and white photographs on the wall of his, photographs he's taken of his little town in Tuscany outside of Florence. I forget the name of it. It starts with a G anyway. So anyway, he's making pasta, like fresh pasta and fresh sauce, and he's got basil growing on the windowsill, and he's making me dinner, and I'm like, this is great, and playing this opera music. And he's not only got basil on the windowsill, but he also is like growing some pot. And I didn't smoke pot, but like it was just interesting because also he knew like 5 different languages, and he lived all over the world. And he knew German, he knew French, he knew Spanish, he knew all these languages. He knew and Italian and English, right? So, and he was just really well read and really intelligent. So it's like, pursuing this modeling thing is really exciting because I'm getting to meet all these interesting people. So we're having a really good time. He takes a Polaroid of me sitting at the dinner table, and he's waving it, and he looks at it, he goes, "Yeah, you look like a Sophia Loren. See? You look like a Sophia Loren." And I'm like, "Well, you're the expert if you say so." I couldn't see it. But anyway, I mean, Sophia Loren is like drop dead gorgeous. So anyway, we had a really good time. We did shoot some pictures. And then we went to the studio a week later. And we shot we did some fashion shots. But after dinner, we would talk about his movie and how he wanted me to be an actress in his movie. And I was like, oh my God, I could get to work with like Martin Scorsese and Robert De Niro. I'm like, is this for real? So I had this desire to go to acting school because I just didn't want to be a pretty face. I wanted to be a really good actor. And I was like, wow, I could have an opportunity to get in the movies like I always wanted to. After dinner, after he made this great Italian dinner, we would go to the promenade in Brooklyn Heights and just sit there and look at the skyline and the Brooklyn Bridge. And it was just like life was so much better. Just like, you're not in your neighborhood where people are just dying of drugs or going to jail. And life became magical for me.